What up, YouTube? PJ here, this Dog Pound 24/7. Thanks for tuning into the channel. If you're new, please hit that subscribe and hit that like, or even share the video. People, thank you for tuning in. Beautiful day here in Western New York. Gonna drop you some good old content, so please stay tuned. Hey YouTube, thanks for staying tuned into the channel. But before I get into this good old content, I first and foremost, as I always do, want to thank all my subscribers for their loyalty and dedication to the channel. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been superb. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be rocking this channel, so I truly appreciate it. And also, you guys have been very supportive and having my back with all these trolls. And it's something new I have to work on and deal with, okay? And you guys have been, giving me clear eyes, painting the better picture for me when it comes to that. So I truly thank you. You guys have been awesome. So let's get into this good old content, all right? I'm going to break down this, and I really don't like speaking on it because it makes me sick, but it's important. So we're going to break this down. It's the number one worst charge you can have while you're doing time in prison. So people, you guys have probably already guessed what it might be. You guys are right. It is a sex charge, okay? Anything that involves everything from rape, child molestation, selling children, or, trafficking, whatever you want to call it. Anything with those and creepo charges, you do not want to have your name tied to anything like that, because I'm going to break down why. Okay, I'm going to give you the treatment that they receive while they are incarcerated. But before I get into all that, I want to take a sip of coffee. But yeah, let me break this down. I'm going to break it down so you guys have an understanding of how these people are treated in prison. And I'm sorry for all these people, if I have some viewers that have maybe an old friend or even have family that have these type of charges and are currently doing time. I'm sorry. I do not feel bad for these individuals because I just can't. And I understand if you have family, it's not you. And I'm sorry that you have to deal with something like that, because I couldn't imagine having a family member with a funny charge like that. I don't know what I would do. I know I probably wouldn't have any sort of relationship, regardless if it was my brother, aunt, uncle, anybody, whatever. It's something that I just never want to be a part of. I'm not going to get into it right now, but long story short, I'm thinking when to talk about it, because I am a victim of something very like this. And it's horrible, people. It's horrible. It's not fair to children. It's not fair to women if they're raped, children being molested. I can't even fathom. I've tried to even think of how somebody can even bring themselves to do something like this. It makes me sick. I'll never understand it, and I'll never have sympathy for these people as long as I live. I just won't. If it was up to me, people, I hate seeing people incarcerated, and believe me when I tell you this, these are the only individuals that I believe should be locked up and the key thrown away. You cannot rehabilitate these people that act on these type of charges. You just can't. Just think about that, all right? Just think about that. To me, you can't be rehabilitated. It's always something, if you're, thinking like that about children or raping women, and that's what gets you off, then you have an issue, and it's something that you'll never be able to change, and I don't believe you will. I'm sorry, so I'm not trying to offend anybody, but it's just something that I will never, ever, and I mean ever, tolerate. But let's get into this video. I'm going to break it down. There's really not too much to say on it, because it's pretty cut and dry of, how these individuals, are treated and what they have coming to them while they are in the penitentiary. So let's get into this. I'm going to give you an example of maybe a couple scenarios, situations that I was in dealing with something like this. But like I said, people, these are the charges you do not want to go to prison with. Rape, molestation charges, trafficking like children, even child abuse. That's not really, sex crime, but you don't want charges like that, period. But a pedophile in prison or a rapist in prison is scum, okay? it's the worst of the worst. Even the COs, the corrections officers, if you get certain corrections officers, they will put hits out on these type of individuals too. They will turn the blind eye. They will turn their backs and let something happen to these individuals too. It's kind of like the convicts and the COs. They kind of like, if a guy is really in there, he has a really, excuse my French, a fucked up charge. He's going to be dealt with, all right? And some of these people, they try to hide under the radar with these charges. But guess what, people? You have these charges in prison. You cannot hide from it. You cannot run from it, because eventually, and I truly mean this when I say that, you are truly eventually going to be exposed. It always happens. I've never ever seen anybody successfully make it out of prison without being exposed when I was doing time in there. And the treatment is not good that you guys receive. You know, these individuals, I shouldn't say you guys because my viewers are not, hopefully somebody like that, but these individuals, they do not get good treatment whatsoever. I'm going to break an example down of a situation on how people are exposed with these charges, and pretty much what it was is, it was a bunch of us. I was in a medium at the time. I was in Franklin. I was down 2 years already, and we were all sitting there playing cards, and we got a new guy on the dorm. And he was older, in his, I think, late 40s, maybe early 50s. And we all got talking, small talk, and, talking about, our charges and what we were doing time for. And when it came to this guy, he did not want to speak on why he was in prison. His exact words, and I'll never forget it, it's like yesterday, is he said that he did not feel like talking about it. Okay? So that's automatically a red flag right there, people. So we ended up finishing the hand of cards. And I'll never forget it, me and my buddy Steve, my partner at the time, as soon as he said that, we both made eye contact with each other, and we both knew that that was a red flag. So exactly what I did was, right after, I'll never forget, after that hand, I went and jumped on the telephone, and called my fiance, now wife. Went and called her, had her look this guy up, and sure enough, the guy had fucked up charges. Guy was on, I think he had sodomy in the first degree, sexual abuse, and there was like another charge where it was under 13 years of age. I'll never forget, because I remember it was under 13 years of age. So the guy had a bunch of fucked up charges. And what I mean, if you do not know, you can look somebody up, is in the state of New York, and I'm sure it's like it in all the other states in the nation, is what you'll do is, in prison, you will have a DIN number. That is pretty much your identity in prison. So what you do is, and this individual, I'll never forget it, because on state, your state clothing, on your pants, your shirts, all that, you'll have your name and your DIN number on your shirt. It's like a little tag. And he had him ripped off all his state clothes. So that was another red flag. I'll never forget that. So what I had to do to get his DIN number and name is, I already knew what his name was, but I had to get his DIN number. There's sign-out sheets to go to the yard. So when you sign out to go to the yard, you have to put your name and DIN number. So sure enough, that's how I got it, and that's how I found out about this guy. So the conclusion of this is, with this gentleman, is he ended up, me and my buddies and people he was, associating with, we brought to everybody's attention in the circle, and we all agreed that we're going to burn him out of the dorm. And if he didn't burn out of the dorm and still wouldn't leave or caused an issue, the next thing was he was probably going to be poked up or cut or whatever the case may have been. So we ended up, after letting everybody know in the circle what was going on, me, Steve, not going to give last names by any means, but if you're watching, shout out to you, my man, because I know he watches his channels. So, but yeah, me, Steve, and another guy, we went to the gentleman with these fucked up charges and pretty much told him, pack your shit, roll up, pack your shit, tell the police you cannot live here, and you can no longer stay here, you better check in. Because wherever he goes, it was on. Anywhere on the compound, they were going to know, we were going to make it aware about this guy anywhere he went. So pretty much told him to go check in because he's not going to live there. All right? And if he didn't check in, if he didn't leave quietly, he was going to be burned out. Now, especially if he didn't leave being burned out, because he didn't know what burned out means, I don't think, because it was a guy that has never done time. He didn't know what it meant by burned out. Well, he shortly found out at about 12 a.m. Yes, indeed, at 12 a.m. that is shift change. That's when we get the new COs, you know, the new COs starting their shifts, the 12 to 8s or whatever. And they always would go in this back room, put their stuff away, and blah, 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 all this good shit. So what we did is we burned them out. We set him up to go to the bathroom, and we took all his belongings. We took the lock, busted his locker open. How you do that in state prison, because they're not master locks, they're the cheap dial locks with the combinations, is you take anything and stick it inside the lock and jerk down hard, and it'll pop the lock. And we took all his belongings and put it all on his mattress on the floor, and we lit it on fire. That's what is called being burned out. So it was pretty funny when he went back to his cube and he seen that he had a campfire in the middle of his cubicle. It was hilarious. So the guy, you know, he didn't have nothing to pack. They ended up handcuffing him and escorting him out of the dorm, and that was the last if I seen the guy. Never seen him again. But that's what happens if you're lucky, if you have those charges, okay? That guy was lucky. That's the only thing that happened to him. I mean, I've seen guys, you know, I remember there was a guy that was locked up, and I didn't see it because it was in the next dorm over, but a guy, he got poked up like 10 times. He did not have a good experience, because I think he did something. I'm trying to think if I'm running off course here, but I'm trying to think. Something with a baby. It was really gruesome and a gross charge, and they ended up poking him pretty good. And but yeah, people, you have these charges, they do not get good treatment. It is the worst of the worst when they go to eat in the mess hall. If they go choose to eat in the mess hall and somebody working in the kitchen knows, you know, that this guy has a charge like that, if they're aware of it, they will violate the man's food. I've worked in the kitchen, I've seen it. I've personally never done it, but that's what happens, people. You do not want to have these charges going to prison. I mean, if your charge is really, really bad and you did something really fucked up and the COs even know about it, they will make sure you get what's coming to you, okay? They will turn their back, they will set you up to get your ass beat, and that's pretty much it, people. I mean, when it comes to these type of charges, you do not want these charges, and you do not want to associate with these. That's the other thing I got to break down along this. If you're an individual doing time in prison, you better, and I hope you would not, you know, if you know a guy has a charge like this, you better not be associating with him, like breaking bread, eating with him, playing cards, doing whatever. You better not, because guess what, people, you're going to get the same treatment. Sorry about that. And I'm not joking when I tell you, I've seen it many times, dudes that think they can, you know, I don't know what they're thinking. They have no morals or values, I guess. They think it's okay, you can hang out with these people and associate with them. Because what it is they'll get cool with somebody, and before they know what they're in prison for, and then when they find out, they just, I guess, look the other way on it. I don't understand, but you do not want to associate with people with these type of charges. So what I would suggest you always do, find out what he's in prison for, and you got to look for red flags when they're telling you, because everybody's not honest in there. They'll try to tell you they're in there, they have a fucked up charge. They'll try to tell you they're in there for something totally different. So you want to ask questions about somebody's charge. If, say, example, I was in there for burg, second, grand larceny, firearms, and those were my charges. So if somebody asked me about my charges and I broke it down to them, and the stories, you know, kind of sound funny and kind of not believable, or you look for any red flags when somebody's telling you why they're in prison. And then regardless, you don't take their word for it, because you don't, you know, it could be full of shit. These people will lie all the time, you know, to cover their ass. So you always, anybody that you're about to break bread with or start cooking with, eating with, you know, doing whatever, playing cards with, you always want to find out what dude is in there for, or woman, because there is very few women that do get these charges, but they're out there. So you always want to make sure who you're associating with. You want to see paperwork, and you want to see it in black and white. And if they can't disperse that kind of information, you know, they don't have it, you know, present for you to see on the drop of a hat when you want to see it, then they got pretty much some fucked up charges, and that's when you're going to want to call home and find out. So that's it, people. That's pretty much it. They don't have a good, I mean, they pretty much 9 times out of 10 they're eventually going to sign in, because they pretty much can't live anywhere once they're found exposed. They have to roll up and check in 9 times out of 10, or they're going to get violated. You know, it's terrible. It's got to be like that, but that's just the way it is, and I feel no sympathy for these people by any means. So it is what it is, people, and they deserve everything they got coming to them, because they weren't thinking how when they were putting that act on a woman or a child, you know, they weren't thinking how they were feeling at the time when they were violating them like that. So I have no sympathy. If you agree with me, hit that like, people. But that's about it, people. Number one thing is, if you ain't one of them type of people with them type of charges, but if you're doing time in prison, do not associate yourself with them by any means. They do not exist. It is the best thing for you. You get caught up with that, it can cause problems for you, and you can get the same treatment for just associating with somebody like that. So always remember that. I'm gonna end this video with that, people. If I missed anything and you want to add anything, or you got something similar you would like to put in the comments, feel free to. If you have any content that you would like me to drop, you can put that in the content too, and I will do it as ASAP. But until next time, people. But before I go, again, I want to thank all my subscribers. I truly appreciate all of you. You guys are awesome and superb, so I appreciate it. And also, people, if you haven't, you already know, hit that subscribe, hit that like, and hit that share. Good night, people.